Before we get started, I want to tell you about my experience with Own It Fitness. Own It Fitness is a place that helped me discover my fitness goals. They did a full evaluation of my physical condition, and they set out a plan for me to be able to meet my goals. And on top of that, they found a way to be able to work with my busy schedule. And they can do that for you as well. Own It Fitness is the perfect place for professionals to find the friends that they need to help them meet their physical goals. If you're looking for a place that can help you, if you're looking for a place that's friendly and a place that will help you confidently meet the physical goals that you have for yourself, then check out Own It Fitness. They're on the corner of Mallory and Blakeow. This episode has been brought to you by Fremont Bank. Fremont Bank has been serving people and businesses in our community for over 60 years. For more information about the Fremont Bank, check out episode 104 on the Fremont Podcast. This episode has also been brought to you by Minutemen Press. If you are looking for design or printing needs, reach out to them. Let them know you heard about them on the Fremont Podcast. They'll give you 20% off on your first order. Banter Bookshop is your local go-to for all your reading resources. If they don't have it on the shelf, you can ask them and they can order it for you. Check them out on Capitol Avenue. Let them know that you heard about them on the Fremont Podcast. If you are looking to buy or sell a home, check out Petrocelli Homes on Niles Boulevard.
Hello, Fremont. This is Andrew. This is a little bonus episode. We've got some news for you, if you don't already know it. The owners of the Tri-City Voice newspaper, Bill and Sharon Marshak, are going to retire. They have owned and run and produced that little paper for over 20 years, and they're going to stop. They're going to take a break. They are going to go home and hang out with their dog instead of, running the only newspaper in Fremont 7 days a week while hanging out with their dog in the office. In addition to being the editor for this podcast, I have written articles for the Tri-City Voice, and I think my name is still on the masthead. And, of course, one time, I asked Bill if I could make a podcast for the Tri-City Voice. He said yes, and he let me do it until the pandemic shut it all down. So I wish them well, and I wish them a happy retirement. The Tri-City Voice, the paper itself, is not going to be shut down, according to someone who knows. It's going to be operated by a different company. And from what I can tell, the offices of the Tri-City Voice here in Fremont are going to stay here in Fremont. I think that's important. I used to work for the Argus, back when the Argus was the Argus, and before the Bay Area News Group that owns what they turned into the East Bay Times, moved the offices out of Fremont over the hill and a ways away. I think it's important that the Tri-City Voice's office is, for as far as I can tell, going to stay in Fremont, because when you're not in the city that you report on, you don't do a very good job reporting on it. It's not really possible to do that, and you certainly don't report on it as often. We here at the Fremont Podcast, we're certainly not journalists with a capital J, but we did talk to people who were here, and we tried to do little stories every once in a while about things that were going on. And if we were successful at all, it's because we all live here. We are here in the community, telling stories about the community to an audience made up almost exclusively of the community, here in Fremont. When a news organization is based elsewhere, you're going to get less coverage. And I said, we here at the podcast don't do journalism with a capital J, and you could argue that the Tri-City Voice doesn't have the biggest capital J in the journalism department. In fact, Bill Marshak told me that the newspaper is essentially a community bulletin board.
And that's what we try to do. So in a sense, we're just like a big community bulletin board. Everybody gets a say in this thing. Now, obviously, I've got restraints in the time that we can put in the money that we have, so that is reflected in how many pages I can print and how many places we can distribute to, that sort of thing. But we try to be open as much as we can to whatever's happening in the community, in all these communities.
And I think there is great value in having that. The Tri-City Voice does do a lot of reporting, but on the weeks when it doesn't do a lot of heavy lifting reporting, it's still really good to have a community bulletin board in the community. We here at the Fremont Podcast have actually interviewed Bill and Sharon Marshak, and as sort of a retirement send-off, I wanted to play a clip for you from that episode.
Teach you in high school.
Yeah, she had an espresso maker
and graduate school.
and at home, and she had an espresso maker at work, and she lived on espresso, running back and forth over the hill.
Wow.
Because it was long hours.
Long hours.
And trying to figure out what to do.
Production. I didn't even know what a printer looked like, a press. I kept
Wow.
looking to see where the press was.
Bill, did you have a job in printing or publishing or anything? No. What were you doing?
I was in financial services at the time.
Okay.
So I worked pretty close to home.
Okay.
And I had clientele, absolutely no thought of going into newspapers or publishing or anything of that nature, and none of my background really lent itself toward that at all.
Mm-hmm. Wow.
So it was all happenstance. I'm always curious about areas that I live in, and since my job really entailed driving around and seeing people and a lot of different folks in financial services, I had no problem going around the area and just taking a look. But I wasn't into this business at the time. I was just curious about it. So I
They
think,
said nothing happens in Fremont.
yeah, the common wisdom, was nothing happens here.
Yeah.
Of course, if you ask any kid anywhere in the world what their town is like, probably 99% of the time they'll tell you nothing happens
Right.
here.
Exactly.
That's the common response.
Yeah.
But we got that from more than just kids here. And so I just found it hard to believe because we came from Aptos, which is a very small area, and there was a lot happening. And I thought, well, gee, this area is much larger, and it's just impossible for nothing to be happening here.
Yeah.
It's just a matter of finding out what it is. We had a printer where we'd print the pages out to take a look at it, and I'd lay them out on the floor to look at all the pages, and my cat would walk on all of them. She just decided that I was laying them out for her, and our rabbit would be jumping around on top of them too. So it was really a home business, if there ever was one.
And so you were designing these out of your house. You didn't necessarily have an office or anything.
Oh no, we had no office.
Oh my goodness.
That was our first one.
That is so you were telling me the story earlier that you were printing these out and trying to hand them out for free to people. Is that right?
Yeah.
And you said this is the first one. What's happening? It has a picture of Mission San Jose on the front, and you were saying that it was being misunderstood for being a real estate catalog, and people just didn't want it because they couldn't afford to buy a house.
Yeah. We had a hard time convincing them that it was about Fremont.
We did it all. We pretty much, I wrote the articles, most of them. We had some people who helped us. We went out and sold advertising. We sold advertising before we even had the magazine.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, we had to sell it for about a month before it was created.
Right. You had to find a way to fund it, I guess. Yeah.
We had to convince people that it was going to exist.
Give some homage to all the different folks that are here. Whether they're newcomers or they've been here for years and years, you've got to recognize their existence, and you have to tell people, other people, they are not just a monolith. Like, you look at some of the communities here, and if you're not part of that community, you might think, oh, they're all the same. These are all, if they're from Pakistan, they're this way. If they're from India, they're this way. If they're from, some other area of Africa, they're this way. That's not really true.
Yeah.
It's like saying I'm from the United States, so therefore
Right.
this is the way I act.
Yeah.
If you're from the United States, you know that each state can be different. Each locale can be different.
Yep.
It's the same thing for the other communities and other countries. So we try to expose that to the general population so they understood that all these people are here. They're real people. They come
You don't
from
have to be afraid of them.
different
Right.
backgrounds.
Yeah.
And here's what they do, and here's why they do it. And they may look a little different, they may dress a little different, but they're people, just like you are.
Wow.
And that was the idea. The idea was to bring our community together, to feel as a cohesive unit. And I have to say that through all the problems that we've had nationally and internationally and even regionally, this area has been relatively calm.
Yep.
And I think it's because people do understand, they see on a regular basis people that may have different customs than they do. And we've grown accustomed to that.
We've helped them to come together to go to the events, to hear their stories, and to fight their battles with them.
Wow.
We fought for parks, we fought for religious continuity, and we tell their stories and help them to tell their stories and to celebrate who they are. So they're not afraid of each other anymore. They've come together a lot.
Wow.
There's a lot more to that interview, and if you'd like to hear the rest of it, check out episode 5 of the Fremont podcast. We just released episode 122, so episode 5 was a long time ago. If you'd like the Fremont podcast to continue to make episodes, let us know. Easiest way, I guess, is to log on to Instagram, but we've got contact information all over the internet. If you'd like us to keep going, make more episodes, talk to more people, find little stories here and there, let us know. I mean, as this tribute is a testament to, we're not going to be the only game in town. Tri-City Voice newspaper is going to keep going. But if you'd like us to keep making episodes, let us know that that's true. Bill, Sharon, genuinely, thank you for all the opportunities you've given me. I hope you have a really great retirement.
Thank you for listening to the Fremont podcast. If you are an individual or a business that would like to be a sponsor partner on the podcast, please reach out at thefremontpodcast@gmail.com, or you can go to our website, thefremontpodcast.com, and you can reach out to us through our contact form. Thank you for listening, thank you for sharing, and thank you for your support.